1 week that's the intensity creeps up every week for 3 weeks, and then I have a week where I just drop it, and just continually it's worked for me for years. So I keep doing it, and it seems to get a positive response from my legs. But it does mean what I end up doing in this week is spending more time doing core strength stuff that you've advised me to do, and actually working on other projects here and there. So there's quite a few like little bits and bobs that I've got on at the moment, like design work wise. So I just need to keep on top of it all, which is good. It's really exciting. Yeah, but I'm sitting in my window and I was hoping it was gonna be nice today, like this weekend. It's fucking grim outside.
Miserable.
Have you been out?
Only for a walk.
Yeah.
I've been on the Cervélo this morning.
Of course.
But I thought a rest week was like one of those fibs, like when people say, "Oh, if you eat carrots, you can see in the dark."
Nah, rest weeks are real things.
And like someone once told me, there's this thing called a tailwind, but I don't think I've ever had one of them either. I've never had a tailwind.
They definitely don't have tailwinds in Australia. I can confirm that.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't exist.
How are you finding the strength work, the core work, and the strength stuff?
I didn't. By the way, I've started recording.
Okay.
I have the lovely Gareth Winter you're in Southwest London. Southwest London? I have the lovely Gareth Winter in Southwest London. I started recording because I thought, fuck it, why not? You and I could chat for England, so might as well start chatting for England while I'm recording. Gareth and I we've known each other for quite a few years now, and we've chatted recently about strength and conditioning stuff quite a lot. Because part of I've spoken about it on previous podcasts quite in depth with specifically the last guy I did a podcast with, Sam. He basically, I guess, kind of like a pro cyclist, very high level cyclist, races in the UK at a high level, has a race team, and is someone who very openly has an eating disorder, and is like recovering from that. But one of the things I sort of talked to him about was I kind of had that mentality of like having to be really thin to be a cyclist all the time, and like light. And I think it's now, especially this year, I've changed it to about being strong. It doesn't matter about the weight. Like I'm 80 kilos, like, and my lightest was 73, and I felt like shit. I didn't feel like, well, I felt strong, like on the bike, and I felt like I looked like what a cyclist should look like. But in reality, like, I was always cold and, just tired, to be honest with you. And then I started trying to figure out like strength work to kind of work on. You and I were chatting about it quite a lot, and I've been using the Nike training app on your suggestion. I love it. I really like it. I really think I just like the fact that it's instructional, and I like the fact that there's videos to show you. That's as simple as that. And I like the fact that it's free also. And when you suggested 3 different workouts, and 2 of them I really enjoy, and I probably do them. I tend to do, they're sort of 25, 30 minutes long. And I would say I do 1 every day of the week, sometimes 2. So I think, yeah, it depends really on how long a session I've got on the bike as well. So if I've got shorter, easier sessions, I'll do 1. If I've got shorter, easier sessions, I'll do 2. If I've got a long, hard session, I'll do 1. And I just don't do it the weekend at all. Just take the weekend off and do what I want. But my partner actually brought it up on the weekend, and she was like, "You physically look different." And I was like, "Nah, don't, shut up." But I don't think I look any different, but I feel like I feel stronger. I've been doing it 2 months now, nearly.
that's a good amount of time to notice the difference. There's this huge debate in cycling as to whether strength training improves your cycling. I personally believe it does, and I believe that strength training improves the human, which in return improves the cyclist. So,
Yeah.
and also focusing on your core. You think about when you're on a bike, you've got pedals, you've got a saddle, and you've got some handlebars, and your core is the bridge between your pedals and your handlebars. So if you've got a strong core, you can really stabilize yourself and maintain a really good position on a bike for longer.
Yeah.
So I put a lot of value in strength work.
Yeah, and I think for me, a big conscious reason for wanting to do more of it was after when I got hit by a van and slipped a disc in my back, and that took 6 months, if not a year, to properly feel like it was starting to feel okay. And that was me going, probably should actually make that stronger, because this has kind of highlighted the fact that it's not, I've obviously obviously as a cyclist, you're going to have some base core strength anyway, but that very consciously made me go, I need to work on that more to make it stronger. And that happened 2019 before the National 24. Yeah, 2019 before the National 24, so July. And then I was fucked from sort of the rest of 2019. I was just really struggling with that injury. And then 2020, I sort of started to think about it, and then everything just fucking shit hit the fan. And then sort of worked on it a bit to make sure it was strong enough for the 107 TDF, and had no issues during that. And then when I finished that, I was like, all right, I need to make a real conscious effort to help strengthening my back. That's the main thing for me, is strengthening my back to make sure it's strong. And with time trialing, it helps so much with your stability, being able to stay in a good position. And a big part of the reason for I think my change in mentality is like, TTs is probably what I enjoy doing the most. TTs are flat. You could be 90 kilos, 100 kilos, whatever, and absolutely smash it. It's about raw power at the end of the day. I was watching the UAE Tour TT earlier, just before we have gone live, I guess. And I haven't finished it yet, but like, that is just an out and out power course. It's pan flat. And no surprises who won, to be honest with you. Anyone could guess it. He's big, he's Italian, and he's a world champ.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what we could say.
So I think that person could potentially be our record hero one day as well.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good shout. That's a very good shout.
Yeah, let's make it happen.
I don't think he is going to. I can't see him losing a TT anytime soon. Like as in this year, I'm thinking could be like undefeated. I mean, that'd be insane to be undefeated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we just drop the name, the Ghana bomb?
Yeah, why not? Top Ghana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you still get pain in your back?
No. I've also changed my saddle on the TT bike. The saddle I was previously using, I got on with okay, but I don't think it was perfect. And I spent a lot of time doing a lot of research and getting a lot of advice from very legitimate time trialing sources, be that a pro who races World Tour, an aerodynamic company who happen to work with a large proportion of World Tour riders, and a pro triathlete. So I asked quite a broad variety of people, and they suggested this company called Dash Cycles or Dash Cycling or something, and they're ridiculously expensive. They make basically a made to order, and they're made in like Texas, and they look very similar to like the ISM saddles. But the reason why I never use an ISM saddle was because I've got big thighs. ISM saddle rubs really badly on my thighs. This is uncomfortable, especially for longer TTs. And the Dash ones, everyone was like, you should look at these because they're narrower, but the same sort of idea. And the reason why I changed was because part of it, the previous saddle I was using was causing me a few issues with comfort on my back, but also, in all bluntness, it was causing me issues with my junk, to be perfectly honest. Numbness and pins and needles, and that's not good in any situation. And so anyway, I just bought one because you can't get, they're so hard to get in the UK, and it's like they're like 200 quid plus import tax and stuff like that. So just accepted it, ordered it. The guys I was chatting to were like, if it doesn't work for you, you probably sell it for what you get because loads of people want them. And I've not had any issues since. And I've been using that saddle now. I think I got it at the end of January. And generally I find why I like riding on the turbo on a TT bike because it actually is quite a good simulation for riding on, outdoors on a TT bike. And me sitting in the TT position on that saddle, if I was doing it on my old saddle, I'd start getting issues after like an hour on the turbo. But with this new one, 3-4 hours, not had any problems, which is, it says a lot. It says a hell of a lot. Dash saddles, very, very expensive, but seems to be working for me. Obviously, saddles are so personal anyway. I really like your top. It says Dreamer on it.
Yeah, this is my casual wear. Yeah.
How's the hair under that hat?
Fucking dreadful. Do you want the truth?
Yes.
Do you want the truth that I'm trying so hard to conceal from you? Okay, so I kind of now have boy band curtains. There we go.
Oh,
like 90s curtains. I want to believe that they're like Leo DiCaprio curtains, but they're just not. They're like creepy boy band curtains.
I mean, mine's looking pretty.
Oh, you look fine.
Yeah, I managed to get a haircut. I think I got a haircut just before the lockdown came in, and Ben, London barber Ben, did it, and he did it intentionally really short because we were chatting. We're like, we think lockdown's going to come, so we will we'll cut it short just in case. And so, I mean, we're seeing the sort of like the rules seem to be. There's a lot of chat in the news anyway that they're going to change, but who knows? Who really knows if when barbers and hairdressers and stuff are going to be open again? It's so hard to guess. But hey ho, that is life, isn't it? I mean, we're in a strange world right now.
I think April, but this is the mistake. I just cutting my hat line, just shut. so when I've got a hat on, I look fine. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But then when you take it off, obviously you give the game away. But the curtains cover the hat line quite nicely. So
it's okay. It's thought through.
Do you want the full backstory? So basically, I've rocked the undercut for many years. So zero to here and then party on top. But over time, the zero got closer and closer and closer and closer and closer to almost the middle of my head. And I was like, hang on a minute, my hair's falling over this side. It just started looking ridiculous. So I've used lockdown as an opportunity to grow from here to here back nice and long.
Yeah.
So that I can, bring the undercut back in the summer. So
I do remember when it was getting further up the head.
It's going up and up and up.
It really
and up,
was, wasn't it?
Getting very avant-garde, It's looking a bit like I'll be in some strange lookbook somewhere.
I kind of liked it though. You kind of rocked it.
You just have to make it work. So now I've got the opportunity to just grow it out and wear a hat indoors and not be seen as rude. So that's pretty cool. There we go.
Yeah.
There's the hair story, the hair origin story.
I like it. There's a few things I wanted to cover with you today, as I know I've got some of your time. I've got quite a while of your time, which is fantastic. The things I wanted to cover with you, I've written them down on my notebook. I have 5 notebooks at the moment on the go. This is the notebook, but this is notebook doodle book, which currently is actually
Oh, nice. Yeah.
big letters on it. So the things I wanted to cover with you was, first of all, our ride in Belgium,
Mm-hmm.
the fuck dogs.
Okay.
I just had to drop it in there. A bit about your family, because I love how open you are about talking about your family. I think it's really, really humbling, actually, about your father and your grandmother and everyone, and your granddad as well. Your job is cool. And then part of your family is like what cycling is, and I guess part of your work as well, what cycling is for you. So I'll put it out there. You work for Sky now. You've worked for Sky for a long time. A lot of people will know that there's a lot of history of Sky and cycling. The other thing I wanted to cover with you is a little bit about your transformation, because you are almost a model figure of a man in my eyes. Very aspirational on how you look. It's fantastic. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of the main things I wanted to talk about, really. And then the last thing, I'm going to pre-warn you about it now, because I don't think I have pre-warned you. So I'm going to give you a bit of a big pre-warning, as I always ask for 5 life tips at the end.
Oh, tough. Okay, I'll do my best.
And it could be anything. They've been cooking tips, cycling tips. I've had like really deep, meaningful, like positivity tips. I had one about strawberry lube. That was a funny one. I bring it up all the time because it makes me laugh. And it was from Andy from Spoon Custom, saying that you can use strawberry lube to sit tubeless tires. Remember that one?
Oh.
Yeah. And yeah, so they can be kind of anything really. But yeah, I guess like I wanted to talk about that ride we did in Belgium.
Oh, that was so cool. That was the first time we met, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Met properly. And what you just said, the word fuck dogs, I feel like I need to bring that to life for people that can't even understand what that even means. Was it 2017 that we did this ride?
I think it was 2017 or 2018. It's sometime around then.
2017, wasn't it? Yeah, I spent loads of time in Belgium in 2017. It must have been then. So we went with Rouleau Magazine. We went to Belgium to ride the Tour of Flanders, Ghent-Wevelgem. And was there another race sandwiched in as well? Het Nieuwsblad? No. We did a crazy ride. Johan Museeuw, the Lion of Flanders, the legendary Belgian cyclist that's won Paris-Roubaix, the Tour of Flanders countless times, took us on his home roads, didn't he? Yeah. And it was just an amazing day out.
With his lads, with his boys.
Yeah, the crew. So I'm going to find, but we went, so we traveled there, me, you and Francis.
Yeah.
We went the longest way possible to get from London to Belgium.
Yeah, we took the tunnel, and then we took some other random train, didn't we?
Niall Russell, he sent us he gave us our instructions, and yeah, we found some holes. Sorry, Niall, but
Niall Russell now working for Chapter 3. Still there?
Many things Niall works at now.
Niall Russell,
the Green Snow crew.
Niall Russell, the multitasking man, with a great laugh.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm nearly at the album. Right, 2017. Sorry, I'm going through my phone to try and find some pictures, because I feel like unless I kind of all photos. There we go. Unless I show everyone what I can share screen on this Zoom thing, can't I?
Yeah. My internet in central London is fantastic, as you can tell.
Was that sarcasm?
That is sarcastic. It's fucking terrible. I got a really nice letter from Virgin saying, "Oh, we've made your internet faster," and I was like,
"Great."
I was like, "We haven't at all." Oh my god. I don't think I expected that.
You didn't. That's what I walked into in my bedroom in our hotel in Belgium, in Oudenaarde. No, it's not Uvenat. It's Herresbergen, in Herresbergen, by the Muir, which is a famous climb up to a beautiful religious monument at the top. There's this amazing hotel at the bottom, and there it is. When you walk into the hotel room, that's what you're presented with, and that's why I can't look at that with a straight face.
That is the fuck dog.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's cheaper than pay-per-view TV, isn't it?
Yeah. What's really scary is I don't think mine was like that. The bedroom I was in. I think that when the bedroom I was in, I think the fuck dog was like sort of sitting perched up in between the pillows.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like on sitting on his ass, like just like looking and then just staring at me as I walked into the room.
Oh right. Okay. So I got the promiscuous dog. You got the kind of like, you know, get out of my room dog.
Yeah, my one had like a, you know, like
yours was a guard dog. Mine was like, come in. Look at this. Anything you like? What were we talking about earlier? Strawberry lube as well.
Strawberry lube, yeah.
Okay, strawberry lube and now this.
Wow, what a way to start chatting, eh? Bring up the fuck dogs. I'm going to get rid of this dog now because it's slightly scaring me. Yeah, that was, I mean, take away the fuck dogs. It was an incredible experience. And I'm still very thankful to Rouleur for offering us that opportunity to ride that ride with Johan as well. And, you know, we made I think like made some really good friends out there as well. Like, still talk to Dries quite a bit. Still talk to Stefan a bit. Like, they're good people, really good people.
I would say riders that suffer together stay together. When you've experienced something like, how many kilometers did we ride that day? 170 or something, maybe. I don't know.
It was a big day, wasn't
it? A tough ride with someone, it just bonds you for life.
Yeah,
I've got pictures of that day. Actually, I'm going to send them to you.
Do you remember Andy Hawes Tour, having his crash right at the end as well?
Andy, he organises the Tour of Britain, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And he's one of the coolest guys ever.
Yeah.
Most lovely people. We just spent the whole day, you know, staying upright, looking after one another, having a great ride. We all got to the end and we were like, oh, this was great. Wasn't this great? And then Andy has a crash and we're all just like, oh, no.
And he literally, he did literally have it right at the end, didn't he, as well, the crash? And it was like, it was straight into a bollard, straight over the handlebars. And he got up straight away and was just like, yeah, I'm fine. Very like blasé about it, but everyone was just like, oh, for fuck's sake. It was probably like, I don't know, 10 minutes away from finishing as well.
We were down the road from the hotel.
Yeah. And I mean, the whole day was basically a battle of how quickly could the Brits versus the Belgians over the climbs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I mean, the Brits, to be fair, we generally won all of them, apart from one particular point where Johan decided, I've got to have one up on all these guys, and just dropped all of us. And
I'm sending you images right now, and there is an image of Johan Museo just handing us, you know, a lesson.
Yeah, and he did.
How to climb. Yeah, he just put his head down, out of the saddle, dropped the hammer, and just left us behind. Like, right, that's why he's the Lion of Flanders.
It was that, but it was like, what I like to try and keep reminding myself to try and make myself good about that was it was like he had one attempt, he had one effort, didn't he? That's how I keep thinking of it in my head. It's like, he's got one effort, after that he's no good. That's it, we'll be fine. But I mean, that one effort, to be fair, if you were in a racing situation, would have been a race winning effort.
Race winning move, yeah,
hands down. And we were just like, we all tried to sit on his wheel for a little bit, and we're like, nah, this isn't happening.
Pulled the parachute. Yeah.
And
I can remember you and Francis chasing at the Oude Clermont as well. I can remember that being hard. That was tough.
Oh, we were digging on that. All of us were digging on that, weren't we?
I felt every cobblestone of that climb.
This is where I vouch that being slightly larger really helps, because the cobbles literally just didn't faze me. I was just like, yeah, it's all right, it's bumpy. But I definitely think if you're of a lighter frame, you get rattled around. You really do get rattled around, don't you?
Yeah, bone shaker. Yeah.
Yeah, and Belgium as a country, I love going there for the racing. I love going there for the culture, the history. Just it's just a really cool place. I really do. It's one of the I really missed not going out there the last year or so. I've really missed it.
Yeah, I
like
think Belgium is the heartland of cycling for me. Lots of people think it's the Tour de France or the Giro d'Italia, and of course they're amazing because they have the mountains. But I think the true heartland of the sport comes from Belgium. I think that's down to Eddie Merckx really, just being the greatest cyclist of all time, and then the culture there of cycling as a religion. You don't really get that anywhere else.
Yeah, and they're incredibly friendly and welcoming to cyclists. It doesn't matter where you're from; they're so like happy to just like accommodate any kind of opportunity if you want to go ride. There's incredible cycle lanes all around. The Netherlands is very similar as well, but Belgium has all the iconic cobbles and climbs at the end of the day. That's what I think people remember about it so much. And the Belgian classics, for me, are the best races, hands down.
Mm-hmm.
I've got lots of good memories going out to Flanders, riding the route. Otherwise, before the pros or after the pros, like the day before is the sportif, but you can also, if you ride it on the Monday, it's all still closed. So I've gone out there a couple of times with the guys from Giro on the Monday, ridden it, and been like, it's still closed, and it's quiet that way. But yeah, I've got so many good memories of going out there for Flanders and just like I've been out there every year. I've been there. The weather seems to have been very good, which is weird. And one year when I was out there, one of the guys I was with called Treve had at some point previously got chatting to at the time managing director of Eddie Merckx Bikes. This has got to be 2016, 2015, something like that. And we went out there and he got chatting to this director guy, and somehow managed to wangle a tour of the Merckx factory. And it was freaking cool. Really cool. But it was at a point when it was before Merckx got bought out by Ridley. But it was like, I think they folded before that buyout officially, but it was just before the buyout effectively. And, the carbon frames are being made in China or the Far East, pretty much same with most brands, but they were still making steel frames in the factory. And there was a special one that was made for Merckx's birthday. I think it was his 75th birthday or something.
Yeah.
And they only made 75 of them. And there was number one was on display there, and a beautiful steel frame. And I think they were being ridden for the last stage of the Tour de France by Agir 2 one year. I think Bardet was on one, and who else was on one? There's two of the riders were on it. I can't think of the other guy's name. Belgium.
Bardet is just class, isn't he? Bardet is just pure class. Like, that doesn't surprise me that he would have ridden one of those. Was that the Merckx 525 frames?
Yeah,
celebrating, because I think it was his 75th anniversary of his 75th birthday.
Yeah.
And a celebration of his, was it 525 professional career wins? Which is
that sounds right.
How many cyclists can boast 525 professional wins?
I know.
And the variety as well, the variety of, Grand Tours to Cobble Classics to the hour record, it's just, wow, everything.
He's definitely someone that I think people don't quite don't quite realize how much of a well-decorated rider he was. I'm just going to show this photo.
There it is.
Reference something we were just discussing a second ago. And in the background there, you can see, I think it is you, me, Francis, and Dries, I think, in the background.
Yeah, that's us. That's it.
And then this is Johan. Just
look at that form.
Just shitting all over us, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. We were also made to look like pumpkins.
It's the Halloween ride.
The Halloween ride, as it kind of became known.
Yeah.
It was an experience, that, wasn't it?
Yeah. Halloween, because it's scary how awesome Museo was.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that was, Belgian and Belgian cycling is just, that whole trip was a fantastic trip. And we came back and went to the Rouleur Classic and carried on just socializing, and everyone stayed in touch. I've still got it was just really fond memories of that, really, really fond memories. And I'm very keen to go back out to Belgium again when we're allowed to and when it's safe to go. And same as I mentioned earlier, like the Netherlands for me is one place I really enjoy cycling.
Yeah.
It's just very good. I mean, the Netherlands though is bloody flat. I don't care what anyone says; it is ridiculously flat. Beautiful, but I went out there in November with a friend of mine that lives in Amsterdam, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to take you for a bike ride, and we're going to go up one of the big hills here in the Netherlands." And I was like, "Yeah, cool, awesome." And I kind of, in my head, I was like, "It can't be a big hill. It just can't be." But I'm going to go there. And he took me on this route out to this hill, and we went up, got to the top, and I carried on because I didn't think we were at the top. And he's shouting at me, going, "No, no, 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 slow, 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 slow. You're at the top." And I was like, "Seriously?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah, that's the top of the hill." And I was like, "We've got bridges that have more climbing in London than this."
Wow.
He's like, "That's the Netherlands."
Because we always joke about Box Hill isn't a hill, it's a false flat. So, is that like a mountain to the Dutch, do you think?
Yeah, I reckon it would be. I mean, they've got the headwinds. That's the Dutch hill, isn't it? That's what they always
refer to. A headwind is a great training partner. I think Freddie Martins used to say, this is his training ethos: ride into a tailwind until you're bollocksed.
Yeah.
Then turn around and ride home into a headwind. And, that's training.
Yeah, it's fair, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I wanted to, I sort of mentioned it earlier, I wanted to bring up family and the importance of family for you, because I think it's really beautiful, and little things like your bike in the background. In fact, both of your bikes in the background have a real story to them.
Yeah.
If I'm correct, I can see, is it the Condor, the pink Condor, and your Factor in the background?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so I grew up in a family of old school roadies. It's annoying that I can't share my screen because I was going to throw you loads of images to talk through. Should we do that?
Yeah, go on. Why not?
Take a while over the internet, the London internet, eh?
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous how sluggish it can be. Yeah, it's very beautiful, your association with cycling in your family. I'm incredibly not envious, but I don't know how to kind of explain it. I just think it's very lovely. My family is not, and definitely don't have a history of cycling. My mum rides horses. It's about as sporty as she got. My dad, in contrast, used to be a professional motorbike racer, so at least has two wheels. But neither of them would ever confess to being particularly sporty. My dad said to me, "If you ever get on a motorbike, I will rip your bollocks off." And I was like, "Yep, that's fair enough." And I understand his reasoning to it, to be honest with you. He used to be a British Superbike champ and World Sidecar champ. And when he was World Sidecar champ, he witnessed a lot of very, very bad accidents, unfortunately. When he was a British Superbike champ, he didn't really have any big accidents or anything. But in contrast, he did manage to put himself in a coma when he was mid-40s. And that was pretty scary. That he lives in the Isle of Man now. He's raced the Isle of Man TT, the Manx Grand Prix, all that kind of stuff. He's definitely retired now. But his association with motorsport and the history of it is really incredible. And I kind of see that with your family. My dad used to be really good mates with Joey Dunlop, who was, if you in motorbike world, was I guess in a way like the Eddie Merckx of motorbikes. And my dad was mates with him, and they met in a toilet urinal pissing, basically, and started taking the piss out of each other. And my dad was Joey. Unfortunately, he very sadly died racing, not on the TT, but he had like the record wins on the Isle of Man TT. And my dad was asked. This is going back, must be 10 years ago, if not more. They did like an anniversary of Joey's death, and my dad was asked to ride to do like a race in memory of him. And it was the first time he got back on a motorbike since been put in a coma. And he basically, it was a lap of the island, and he just did one lap and was like, yeah, done, don't want to do it anymore. It was a 3-lap race, and I was like, yeah, you're not, your head's not in it anymore. And then the other one was a circuit race around a motorbike circuit on the island in Derby, which is like northwest of the Isle of Man. And he did, so I think he did 2 laps of that and was like, nope, don't fancy it. And I was just like, fair enough, you've done what you wanted to do, you know, you put yourself in a coma, so I can understand that hesitation of not wanting to particularly to do any more of that kind of stuff. But he, you know, what your family has as an association with cycling, I see it quite a lot in my dad, of his association to motorbikes and the history of it. And it's very beautiful actually to see.
Yeah, it kind of just influences everything that you kind of do. It's so ingrained in your life that it's part of you. And it's more than just you know, a passion or a hobby or enthusiast. It's like, you know, when someone asks, oh, you know, what are you all about? A lot of people say, oh, this is my job, or this is that. And the first thing I usually say is, I'm a cyclist. Because when you've dedicated your life to cycling, and your family has, that's who you are. It informs everything you do. So yeah, I mean, I grew up in a family of old school roadies. My grandparents, they met at a cycling club called Redmond, the Redmond Cycling Club, which is an anagram of Morden, which is, you know, not too far from where I'm living now, actually. And they grew up racing post-war, because after the Second World War, you know, there's no money in the country. There was a lot of heartbreak, and cycling was a way that everyone could escape and deal with stuff, was to go out on a bike ride, to go out and race and push yourself, or to go out on an adventure and explore new places. You know, didn't have cars. So it was freedom from quite a constrained world. And yeah, then my dad obviously wanted to follow in my granddad's footsteps, and he took up cycling. He met my mum at a cycling club, at a roller event. You know, nowadays we've got the Roller Palooza, which is, you know, those bikes on rollers and you race each other. They met at one of those, like early Roller Palooza kind of stuff.
Cool. And
yeah, I grew up in a weird family of cyclists. It was the 80s as well, so like Lycra was just terrible. It was just neon. It was horrible. It was really polyester and cheap, and it looked terrible. And no one was a cyclist at that time. You know, so cyclists were kind of really frowned upon. If you saw someone cycle past you covered in like lime green and pink, you'd be like, what the fuck? And when we moved out of the kind of Surrey area when I was quite young into the Wiltshire countryside. And I can just remember we had a tandem with a bolt on the back, so 3 people could ride it. And so me and my brother would ride on the back, and my mum or dad would cycle us to school. And then you get to the school gates, and you know that kind of culture of like keeping up with the Joneses. And everyone turned up at the school gates, you know, all well-to-do and done up with makeup and looking good, driving a nice car, and letting the kids out and kind of competing with each other. And all the other parents are kind of turning their noses up. And then us fucking idiots just like cycle up, covered head to toe in fucking like lime green or fluorescent yellow or whatever, get off this weird tandem, and everyone was just like, what the fucking fuck are these guys? And then, you know, then this big cycling boom happened, you know, after 2012. My kind of like my dad at that, you know, he's always cycled. He went from being like the village idiot to being the person that everyone came to, like, oh, Stephen's a cyclist. And all these people that would have turned their nose up at cycling are now asking him questions about bikes and this and how do I fix that and where do I go and what do I do. So it's kind of funny how it's gone full circle now, and we were turned from the weirdos into normal people now.
Yeah, it's actually very it's funny that whole 2012 period was like there was a very noticeable growth and change in perception of cyclists in the UK, and I would say it is just generally because of the fact that we did well. That's quite blunt, isn't it? To be honest with you, we did well, and because of the fact that we did well, everyone seemed to want to be involved in it and start sort of taking on cyclists as well. I found that, like, for me, that was probably I mean, I always used to ride, but that was probably a big, I guess, like quite a big point where it probably changed. And I sort of started cycling when I went to university, and it was purely because it was the cheapest way to get around. Mm-hmm. Right? It was easy. It was easy way to get around and go to, you know, to go to uni and to go to courses and stuff like that. But it became that sort of thing where you're like, yeah, you were definitely noticing more and more people were kind of getting on board with the idea of, oh, you know, maybe I could do this now or use it as a way. And I feel like there's definitely been that growth again now because of COVID, to be perfectly honest with you. Mm-hmm. And that's great. That's a really good thing to know and really good thing to see. And it's the more people that kind of are getting involved and getting part of the sport, the better. That, my opinion, is very much like, more people that want to join in, great. Doesn't matter what kind of bike it is. It can be, you know, it can be mountain bike. It could be an e-bike, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. And I've noticed, like, both of my parents have gone and bought e-bikes, which is, I'm just like, yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, the e-bikes thing. I'm a big fan of e-bikes. They came in a little bit too late, though. I remember my granddad, before he passed away, he bought an e-bike with this idea that he could maybe start to ride it. And it was kind of, we were just a bit too late, really, because I love the idea that although my granddad was old and had poor health, he could have used his e-bike to still do the thing that he loves. I kind of remember when I was a teenager, my granddad couldn't ride a bike because he had loads of health issues, but he was still a cyclist. And I could see the torture of someone that was a cyclist that couldn't ride a bike. And he was a cyclist because next to his, you know, on his coffee table, next to his chair, he had a stack of cycling magazines that he just read all day long. And then on TV, we just had Eurosport on. And whenever cycling came on, whether that was BMXing or whatever, he watched it. And it was like, I wish that the e-bike thing caught up with him a bit sooner, so we could have shared the road then, because he could ride alongside me and we could enjoy the road. But we just missed the kind of that window. Right, so here we go. I'll talk about these pictures then. This is my granddad. This is where it all started. This is escapism. So it's post-war, and this is in Wales. My grandparents went on a cycling holiday to Snowdonia. They probably cycled all the way there, to be fair. This is back in the good old days when steel was real. And so that's Martin Winter, my granddad.
He looks great. He looks like a right character.
Yeah, he's a really modest, quiet person. My nan was the social butterfly. I'm a lot like my granddad, actually. This is my nan. This is Llanberis Pass in Snowdonia. And you can just see the joy that cycling brings to people, just going on an adventure together.
I love the car as well in the background, just coming.
Yeah, no, look at that car. And this is when they fell in love. You know, this is right now is where they fell in love, going on adventures together. And they spent, after they had my aunties and uncles and my dad, they carried their adventures. They traveled the world. They cycled around China on a tandem. You know, they really lived life, and cycling gave that to them.
So I'm not sure what order these photos are going to come up, so I'm just going to go with it. And this is your grandma again.
Yeah, loving it. You know, just they would have been riding consecutively for like a week, 2 weeks, and they just love it.
It's such nice to see, as you say, the joy of cycling. And I mean, we're going to talk. Let's not even think about the gear ratios
Yeah.
that's going on there as well. It'd be crazy numbers. Look at that photo.
This is Nan in her retirement. She cycled from Land's End to John O'Groats to raise money for my Auntie Penny's. I think it was one of her guides groups, so they could afford a minibus to take them on adventures. You know, she's just a community person. She wanted to help everyone, and cycling was a way that she could build a community and help other people.
Such a lovely photo as well. Great smile and like holding the old Pearson frame as well, like that.
Yeah. This was Nan and Grandad's wedding. You know, like, here we go. Wheels held above their heads. I've got a similar picture somewhere of my mum and dad in the same situation. And they had a white tandem to cycle off into the horizon with.
That's amazing. I love the wheels.
Yeah. There's my dad. This is my dad and the boss. This is Eddie Merckx.
Yeah.
Eddie came to London to race on the Eastway circuit, which is now the Lee Valley Velodrome. And I know that loads of our friends in the East London kind of world, the Lee Valley Velo Park is a really still a really strong cycling community there.
Yeah.
And a really inclusive community there that cycle for all the right reasons. So yeah, this place, the Velo Park, is such a cool place. Even Eddie Merckx has raced there, you know.
Eddie Merckx does look like an FBI agent there, though.
Absolutely. He looks like he's kind of like arresting my dad or something.
Yeah, he does. It looks like there's something suspect going on, doesn't there?
And this is Mother Dear. This is Mum. And one of my favourite cycling jerseys of all time, actually, the Miko Mercer jersey, a French team. Just so cool.
Yeah, just it's a great jersey.
We've got a real kind of resurgence now of adventure cycling, you know, gravel riding and all road bikes and people going on cycling touring. It's kind of really come back now. And this is the original. This is what it used to look like.
I am such a huge fan of gravel riding. And I think for me, it sort of started, I guess I used to like just race cross races. I bought a really cheap, I think it's like second or third hand cross bike, canty brakes. It was a Van Dessel, if you've ever heard of Van Dessel, which is I think they're a Belgian brand, but they're not very Belgian. They're kind of a weird brand. I think they might even be American owned now, but they were originally a Belgian brand. And it was too big for me, but I bought it because it was cheap. And that was like my first time like racing cross bikes. And then I used to just go off-road with it on trails and stuff. And then eventually that's when I then got my quirk made up, my steel quirk by my mate Rob, which I still have. Took that bike to Kyrgyzstan and rode around Kyrgyzstan. So like, and it's always, I really enjoy it. It's just different. It's something, the way you can go and explore that way, and you're generally quiet and safe on your own. I love it personally. Is your Nan again?
Yeah, here we go. I think it's a Jersey or Guernsey, one or the other. They went to a few.
It's great seeing the water bottle on the front as well.
Yeah, I think we've still got this bike actually in my dad's garage.
That's lovely.
Yeah, I want to do it up one day. Oh, and then come along, you know, this is the third generation now. This is where, you know, I'm coming into the world as a cyclist.
Already got yourself a nice little Peugeot?
No chance. Well, like I would say I was almost literally born on a saddle. My mum did a 12-hour time trial when she was like 6 months pregnant with me. And then cycled part the way to give birth to me, I think. So I was almost literally born on a fucking saddle. And I think this is the last time my dad and granddad raced together, a 2-up time trial back in the 90s. Yeah, so granddad's on a pink bike here, and my dad had a pink bike as well, and that's why I've got a pink bike over there, my Condor that I ride on the turbo. Yeah. That's a steel frame, fixed wheel. The reason I have a pink bike is because my dad and granddad had a pink bike. You just got to keep that tradition going, you know.
It's really nice, and the old TT, well, they're road bikes with clip-on bars, aren't they? But they look awesome. The skin and everything is class.
Yeah, my granddad had the full time trial bike there. He's got a disc Campagnolo wheel on the back and a low pro frame.
Yeah,
My dad just chucked on some clip-ons because he didn't have the TT stuff that my granddad had.
such a great photo.
This is what I mean by the weirdos that turned up to school. Like this is how we looked. And it just gets worse, really. The lycra and the mismatching colors.
I
Maybe it's
quite like it now. It's quite
check out the
strict.
helmet, though. Check out these helmets.
They are massive, aren't they?
So that's my older brother Richard on the left, and that's me on the right.
What you got in your? What are you eating? That's the question, isn't it?
Always eating something. Probably a what's it, I think. I like what's it and bananas. There's granddad again. Talking about pocket food. Back then, my dad used to eat penguin bars on the bike for food, for energy. Do you remember penguin bars?
Yeah, and he just always used to read the joke while he was going along as well.
Well, I used to ride on the back of the tandem, and when my dad was on the front, I used to play a game where I'd steal the penguins out his pockets and I'd eat them, and then dispose of the evidence, put it in my pocket. And then when he started to bonk, he'd put his hand in his back pocket, tried to find his penguin bars, and realised he's got no food, and I was with chocolate around my mouth.
You're just like, wasn't me.
Nope. Gonna have to go to a petrol station, Dad, and buy a Snickers because you haven't got any penguins left.
This is your granddad again. This is a fantastic photo.
Yeah.
It's so
yeah, look at that headband, the tube socks, the city shoes. That bike was made by his friend in a shed. Proper, home engineering, Campagnolo group set, Campagnolo wheels. He would have built them himself. Or my dad may have done it for him. Underneath the saddle, you've got a tub wrapped up with a toe strap in case you get a puncture.
Yeah. This is the sort of generation of time when you selected the parts that you wanted on a bike. You didn't really buy a complete bike or anything. You selected what you want on it and sort of built it up specifically to what you wanted. It was very, very custom. And I feel like we're starting to see a bit of a resurgence of that now. But equally for like a newer cyclist, you're going to go down the route of seeing what you can basically buy complete and ready to go for your money. But the whole customization is definitely coming back, whether that is in custom paint jobs, buying a frame and building it up yourself. And it's great. It's great that there's that individuality and personality that's starting to come back again, because I feel like it was lost for a few years.
It was. And I grew up knowing that your fit was important. And, my heroes are kind of my granddad, my grandfather and my father's heroes, more the Eddie Merckx generation. I really love that era, the 70s especially. This idea that every single component you put on your bike was hand selected by you. And even though I've got, my Factor over there, which is a modern carbon fiber road bike, every single component on that has been selected by me, sized by me, and there's absolutely nothing kind of off the peg about it.
Yeah.
Even like my speed plate pedal axles are wider than standard, which you have to order from overseas. You just can't even get them in the UK. Bar width, bar tape, every single component, big or small, has been hand selected, down to like things like even the chainring bolts I hand selected. Like, it's really sad, but like
I completely get it. Like I completely get it, and I think this young lad here does as well. Like,
this guy gets it.
Yeah, he gets it. It's a shame he's not number 107 though, really.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm like just below you. I never quite made it to 107 land. I'm the 106.
You see, when you're talking about like the customization and selecting parts for bikes, I am someone who is incredibly particular about that as well. And like, it's well known, I'm sponsored by Cervélo. It's an incredible relationship I have with the brand. I'm very, very lucky to have that relationship. But the bikes they've provided me, none of them are what they provided me. I've changed everything on them. And that it could be, it's not just to do a fit, because obviously fit does come into it, changing handbar width and stems. For me, like, one of the big things for me is I have quite bad nerve damage in my left arm. So I really struggle with mechanical shifting. It is the motion, if you think when you're shifting mechanically, that motion of pushing in the shifter, after like 2 hours, I'm in pain in my left hand. So little things like every single bike I have is definitely a luxury, but I have Di2 on there. But that for me makes such a difference with my like hand fatigue and things like that. But like I'm going down the route of wanting to put the GRX Di2 shifters on every bike because ergonomically they are, I mean, they look ugly, but they're so good ergonomically compared to any other shifters I've used. Like some of the older Campag shifters were ergonomically fantastic as well.
Yeah.
SRAM shifters I never quite felt were quite right in my hand, but the GRX Di2 ones, for me personally, which are down here somewhere, might be able to see that. I don't even know if you can. They just work really, really well for me because they're slightly longer. They've got like a hook back on them, and I'm thinking about putting them on my road bikes because they just work. But was nothing wrong with that. I know it's a gravel specific group set, but if it works for you, of course you should do that kind of thing.
I'm a big believer that comfort is speed. You know, if you're doing rides that are 100k plus, or you're spending 4 hours plus in the saddle, comfort is speed above aerodynamics and above weight saving. If you feel good on a bike and you're comfortable, you can produce your best human performance, which I think would always outweigh technology.
Completely agree. So this is you, isn't it? Is this like one of your first races?
This is one of my earliest memories. Actually, I think this is a little Castelli cycling jersey. There, it's a big scorpion on my chest, I think.
Yeah.
We went to a race circuit. I can't remember where it was, but I remember entering the wrong race. I went in the age category above what I was supposed to race in, just because I wanted to. And then I went full gas from the start, and I got halfway around the course, and then someone pulled me off and said, "You're not supposed to be on here. This isn't your race." And they stopped me from doing it. And I was just like, I was going to win. And then they dragged me off kicking and screaming. So that's one of my earliest memories.
It's great when you see like a proper old school BMX there. I had a bike like that as well. Yeah. Oh, look at this.
This is how we traveled the UK, and this is how we got to school.
That's amazing.
So we turn up when, everyone turns up to school, like a big fashion show, like a parade. Everyone's got a nice car, maybe a nice BMW or something, or an Audi. I don't know what they drove in the 90s. I don't know anything about cars, clearly. Land Rover, maybe. And got out.
Wheels, probably.
Nice handbags, nice makeup, nice shoes. Guys got out in suits, probably did jobs, solicitors or whatever, lawyers. And then we turn up looking like this. And you can see why the parents didn't really invite us over for dinner or to play after school, right?
The thing is, now in like today's current society, I think that is like quite a bit more aspirational. Maybe it's fantastic. You were trendsetters.
I do truly believe that we were oddly progressive, actually. And like I can remember being a kid and standing outside McDonald's having a petition. My mum was like, "McDonald's is evil. We're doing a petition. We're doing a stand." And, all of these things, I just think, hang on, we were actually quite progressive. But at the time, I just felt like a weirdo. Talking of weirdos, here's more. This is a great memory. This is the 1998 Tour de France. We went to Ireland to support Chris Boardman and watch the prologue over in Ireland. This was quite a dodgy year, actually, with the Festina affair. But the prologue was great. We came over to support Boardman because my dad was a Boardman super fan. My granddad and my dad were in love with Chris Boardman. Actually, sorry, Dad, but I'm going to have to share this. Above my dad's turbo in his garage, he's got a clock, and it's got a picture of Chris Boardman in it. He just looks at a clock with Chris Boardman in it. It's just an obsession, maybe.
I mean, he's a good guy, but
he's a good guy.
That is extreme. That is extreme.
Yeah, so we obviously, here's Jan Ulrich racing. Look at that for an absolute, look at that form, look at that bike, look at that face. Jan Ulrich, you are, I know you've had a tough career and an even tougher retirement, but I have to say, damn, you look good on a bike.
It's that generation of time trialing for me was always so fascinating because that's where the big gains were happening. When I've been talking with like Cervélo's engineers, they sort of said to me, the gains in bicycle designs now in the aerodynamic side in every brand, Cervélo is probably known to be one of the best brands out there for their aerodynamic research and for the amount of years they've spent researching that. When this kind of generation, or when this first Cervélo came out, the Soloist, it was like 10, 15, 20% gains, like insane gains. And then now it's like 0.5%,
Yeah,
0.5%, half a watt, as
we're
opposed
really
to
reaching that plateau of kind of
yeah,
now
exactly.
it's getting more about the human again and about the human position because the bikes are so advanced now.
Exactly. Oh, look at this one.
Yeah, so this is another obsession of my dad's was Pantani, one that I share, I think, like Marco, just the Italian steez that Marco Pantani had in the mountains. And
Yeah.
here's him in the 98 prologue, just looking cool.
No, he just epitome of cool, wasn't he?
Here's the epitome of uncool. Here's my granddad with his cool glasses on and his Farnborough and Camberley cycling jersey. So this is the GAN team car, because they were Chris Boardman super fans. They went to go and see the team car because you have to, right? I mean, I was the same with Team Sky. Like whenever I saw a Team Sky car, I just ran up to it and stared at it for like 10 minutes because it was cool. They did the same.
It's great to see the happy faces. Look at this guy now.
Yeah, so let's talk about, okay, so this leads us not naturally now to like the flow in the conversation about my body transformations and how my cycling journey has just changed over the decades. But I grew up in a cycling family, as you've just seen, and then there was this period where kind of like I went to university and everything, and like I went to Swansea University, and there I was doing a lot of surfing, and I had my mountain bike, and I was just using that to get places, and there wasn't really, I didn't feel like there was a big cycling culture out there. So I just did my own thing on my mountain bike for a while. And then in 2010, I graduated. And this was at the same time that Team Sky formed, the first British professional world tour team had, it was just at the beginning of its journey. And while I was
exciting, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really cool. And the best part was the Tour of Britain in 2010 came right past my house in Swansea. We were talking about the Tour of Flanders earlier. There's the famous climb in the Tour of Flanders is the Koppenberg, which is like a 20% max 20% gradient climb with like 600 meters of elevation or something. A cobbled climb. There's outside my house in Swansea was Constitution Hill, which is like Swansea's Koppenberg. It's a max 22% gradient with 600 meters of elevation. And the Tour of Britain went up the Constitution Hill right outside my house. And Team Sky were racing. So I was like, okay, cool. I've got to go and support Team Sky because we got this new guy, Bradley Wiggins, who is the next hot thing in British cycling. And he's going to race past. And I can remember seeing Russell Downing. He was the first Team Sky rider up. I could see him in the horizon. They were wearing, actually, I've got the jerseys. I brought the jerseys with me, but yeah, Team Sky were wearing the green jersey.
Yeah, the famous green one.
The Rainforest Rescue jersey to promote Sky's initiative for supporting the rainforests, reducing the impact. And so this is signed by your friend, Edvald Bosenhagen.
My man. He's a legend.
Bradley Wiggins, through me, and Juan Antonio Fletcher.
The Juan and only.
The Juan and only. He's such a cool guy. He's got so much energy. I love him. But so Russell Downing, I was keeping an eye out for this green flash, and I was the first rider up. I was like, is that Bradley Wiggins? Oh, it's Russell Downing. Russell Downing came up first. And then Brad rode up Constitution Hill with Steve Cummings. And I just remember seeing those two and just thinking, wow, this is so cool. We've got like a British professional team and they're racing right outside my house, Team Sky. This is in 2010. And a couple of weeks later, I was working at Sky. I moved from Swansea. I'd graduated. I moved to London to work at Sky. I got a job at Sky News. And just as I started working at Sky, the team came over for a media day. And that's where, I got my jersey signed. I got my gilet there, So it was amazing to see them race at the Tour of Britain, and then instantly to kind of feel like I was a part of Team Sky, because I worked at Sky News, and we were, you know, with Sky Sports, etc., reporting on everything they were up to and their ambition to win the Tour de France.
And it's pretty much gone like full circle now as well, hasn't it, with Team Sky now, Ineos Grenadiers, and how we've seen, you know, we look at that first like team launch, and the thing that came up so much in the news was about Teo being there at the team launch, and now the Giro winner. Like, it's a fantastic story.
It is the best story, isn't it? Teo is just an absolute hero, because he's such a nice guy. He's done everything the right way, and I think he's the future of the sport, because he's one of those riders that respects the history, has grown up loving it. He gives back to the sport and gives back to the community of cycling, which is just growing by the day, this global community. And Teo is just kind of such a good role model for where the sport should go, the culture, the way to win, and the way to, you know, support people throughout that journey. I think he's just, big fan. Clearly.
Incredible guy, incredible. I've only got the best of words for him. It's quite emotional seeing him win the Giro, because I don't think any of us quite. I mean, it's not that we didn't doubt him or anything. I just don't think people quite expected it.
No, it's such a lockdown treat. You know, we've been starved of professional racing in the early side of 2020, and then we had Strade Bianche to pull us out of that world and inspire us and put us in awe. And then we had that Giro, and it was just like, wow. Yeah,
it's incredible racing, and it was and also it was great to see, you know, Ineos didn't maybe have or Ineos Grenadiers, as it was renamed, didn't have maybe the Tour de France that they hoped. To see it all kind of come back together for the Giro was absolutely amazing, and to see a British rider do so well. And do you know what else? Like, as a time trialist, seeing Rowan Dennis riding the way that Rowan Dennis rode, and to be fair, Ganna, the way that Ganna rode, that was something else. Like, it's the first time I've actually thought that Rowan Dennis looks comfortable and like he's actually enjoying things. He seems like a kind of guy that needs to have things in control, very controlled. And maybe when he's at Bahrain, Merida, or whatever the team was called when he was there, maybe it wasn't quite right for him. Just what didn't work compared to the BMC days, so to speak. And then coming over to Ineos, it was just like, okay, he's back.
And for Teo to be on the wheel of Rowan Dennis, and then to go round as well, just proves that Teo is a champion. It wasn't some one-off maverick kind of fluke. You know, to stay on Rowan Dennis's wheel is hard enough. This guy is an incredible time trialist. But then to go around him as well and continue and then go on to win the Giro just proves that it wasn't the circumstances that allowed Teo to win. It was Teo's mentality, his attitude, and his commitment to winning that allowed him to win. So I won't hear a bad word said about him. But anyway, let's get back.
Sorry, go on. I was
going to get back to Sky. So here we are. We're back in 2010. I've just started a job at Sky News, and now Sky News is at that time, pretty ruthless. It's a 24-hour news channel, and we worked 12-hour shifts, and we worked on rotations of earlies, days, lates, and nights. Which basically meant that you could not build a consistent body clock. You couldn't use your body's natural kind of circadian rhythm to get the best out of your days. You had these hours to work, and you had to be awake for them. So I just fell into really bad routines of poor sleep, overeating, and stress. You know, you work at Sky News, it's a highly stressful environment because you're dealing with very sensitive news stories and a lot of big egos. At that time, Sky's culture has improved drastically over the last decade, but at that time it was a high stress environment. I didn't respond to it particularly well. Everything was new to me. You know, I was kind of felt alone in that, you know, I'd moved down, I had no family or friends here. I was just all about work, and I wanted to impress, I wanted to do well. This was a new job. So I committed my life to work, which meant that every other element of my life fell out of whack. So while I was committed on work, I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't riding my bike enough. I was just commuting to work, which is a flat 10K from, at the time I lived in Twickenham to get to Brentford. It was like 10 kilometers on the flat. Maybe on the weekend, I did a lap of Richmond Park if it was a good day, but I was lifting a lot of weights because we had a gym at Sky, and if you could sneak out and just pump some iron, it felt pretty good. So I was eating a lot and I was doing a lot of weights, and this just formed so much mass, like muscle mass. It was insane. So this guy, this is 2013, this is 3 years later, where 2012 had happened, and Brad had led by example and proved that if you commit yourself to a goal, that anything's possible. So I was massively inspired by 2012 when Team Sky and Bradley Wiggins won the Tour de France. And then Brad went on to win the Olympic time trial. We had gold medals from Victoria Pendleton, Sir Chris Hoy, and the pursuit teams. So I was just kind of filled with this new energy of like, I want to ride my bike again. And this is 2013, where I was taking that muscle that I'd built from, pumping iron in the gym at Sky, and I started applying it to the road. And I was a powerful guy. Let's move forward. Let's see what else. I'll see what else I've sent you. Okay, yeah. So here's Sir Chris Hoy, just a legend. I had all this muscle. You can see I'm a beefcake here, right?
Yeah.
Standing next to Chris Hoy, you can see that I've got some shoulders and some pecs, and so's this guy. He was my hero.
You look like the same size.
Yeah, and to be fair, I could churn out over 2,000 watts at this stage. On a watt bike, doing max efforts, I could kick over 2,000 watts. And this is me and Brad. You can see I'm just starting to slim a touch here. I've been
hit your chin, can't you?
Yeah, you can see that my cycling I've definitely ramped up the volume here. This was the day after Paris-Roubaix. So Brad had come 7th in Paris-Roubaix. And no, Brad came 9th. I think Geraint Thomas came 7th.
Yeah.
Anyway, one or the other. And this is the day after. And I remember chatting to Brad, just like, wow, Paris-Roubaix, that was something else. And I was just falling more and more in love with riding the bike, and I was just doing more and more and more cycling. This is towards the end of 2014. I'm just starting to slim down a bit. Chris Hoy's just starting to out beefcake me now.
Yeah, I think he's on the arms are looking bigger on Hoy's side, aren't they?
And then here's the pursuit team. I think this is mid-year, so this is I'm still quite heavy here, but we're on the velodrome, so it's cool because I was just surrounded by sprinters. I met Dame Sarah Story that day as well, and just remember looking at her quads like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, she's lovely as well.
Yeah, I watched her doing lots of standing starts, and I was just thought, wow, So you can just see I was just surrounded by high performance and world-class cyclists, and I was just loving the power thing. Check out my quads here, like the quad squad. I've got 2 kneecaps.
But I mean, your face has slimmed down so much here.
Yeah, so this is the moment where my muscle was. I had a lot of power here, but I didn't really know what to do with it because it was all quite new to me, really. But yeah, wow. And then I guess I was falling more and more in love with the road cycling side of things. I had this idea that I'd be like I love track cycling and that I wanted to be just like Chris Hoy. Yeah. But I had a road accident, and my shoulder was kind of it separated my shoulder. So I had to start doing a lot of training on a watt bike for a while. And then after that, I kind of just wanted to ride on the road, really. I just thought, you know what, like, I'm not really into this racing thing now. I came to terms with the fact that I wasn't going to be Sir Chris Hoy. I wasn't going to win the Tour de France like Bradley Wiggins, and that I should be riding my bike just because I love it and for no one else other than myself. So I just made the decision, like, I have no need to race. I'm just going to ride road now. And the weight, you know, the excess muscle just stripped away so quickly. Like 2015, you can see how much slimmer I'm becoming. I've still got big arms and shoulders here, but
It's
every
definitely
part,
dropping, isn't it?
yeah, it's falling down. And then 2016 was this moment where I was looking like a good sprinter.
Yeah.
You know, I was like this point, I was like a wannabe kind of Cav maybe, or a Greipel-esque person. I had good legs. I had a strong upper body. I could pull on the handlebars. I could push on the pedals. I was pretty dangerous on the flat. You know, we did in 2016, we did a lot of riding in Belgium. We rode, you know, the Tour of Flanders Sportive. And I was just the hammer on the flats. It was kind of like, get on the back of my wheel and stay there. I'll tow. You just stay put. And I just loved being the hammer.
Just to note on this photo, you are in the small chambering on the front, aren't you?
Yes. So the story behind this is a flat Di2 battery. I'm in the 3911, which is a terrible gear to be in. Don't ride the 3211. 3911.
Yeah. It's the first thing I saw.
Yeah, the sign of a true cyclist.
Yeah.
Here we are. This is the I can't remember which cobble climb this is now. The Eckenberg. This is the Eckenberg on the Tour of Flanders. You can see I'm really slimming up now, but I've still got I'm still quite a heavy rider.
Yeah.
But really, this is where I discovered what I was good at. When I was a powerful rider, I had a lot of power, but not a lot of race aggression. This is in 2016. I discovered that I'm just a rouleur. I'm a bit of everything, and a one-day race or a one-day event, a one-day course is where I excel, because I can hold it for longer. I know that if I'm hurting, the people behind me are hurting even more, and I kind of thrive off that. But then after 2017, it started to go downhill a bit, really. Like if we move forward, 2016, this is great. 2017, you can see I've got quite a low aerodynamic position here. Over the years, I'd really shaped my position on a bike. I'd shaped my power, and I was just on fire. 2017, I was just an absolute weapon. I think I did an FTP test, a 20-minute FTP test. And at 63 kilos, I was producing 360 watts for 20 minutes, which was pretty good. So that would have put my FTP down at, like, I don't know, 320 or something like that for 63 kilos. And this is where it kind of came into effect in 2017, where I'd lost all the mass, retained lots of muscle and power, but stripped away all the fat and all the excess muscle, all the extra biceps, all the extra shoulders, all the extra chest had disappeared. Yeah. And I was left with a strong set of legs, a strong core, and a nice lean upper body. I was kind of the model cyclist. I was the perfect rouleur, you know. But I carried on this trajectory. I carried on losing more weight, because when I started losing weight and looking more like your archetype cyclist, everyone was complimenting me. Everyone was saying, Gareth, you look great. I wish I was as skinny as you. No one ever said, I wish I was kind of as lean or as strong as you. They just, this obsession with skinny.
Yeah.
And brands were getting in touch with me at this point and saying, oh, we want to take you on this event. We want to take you to this event so we can photograph you wearing our products. And that was a very nice compliment. I thought, great, yeah, I'm getting sent around the world to wear great cycling kit, test amazing bikes, and people want to photograph me and aspire to be like me. And it was just a great compliment. I mean, check out, this is me in 2018. I'm lean as hell. Look at those, you know, look at the veins and the muscle definition. I've got strong legs, and I was a pretty good all-rounder at this point and in high demand. But the more people said, oh, Gareth, I wish I looked like you, I wish I was skinny, the more it fueled this kind of need to continue to lose weight. You know, when you've been someone that is 85, 90 kilos back in 2013, you know, and in, let's say in 2011, I was nowhere near that much, you know, 2010, I was a very normal looking person. and then I packed on loads of mass, and then I carved it right down to this lean physique that you can see now in 2019. But I got in this place where I had this obsession, and this is the worst point. So at this point in time, I'm 59.8 kilograms in 2020. At the beginning of 2020, I was skinny, and everyone that wasn't a cyclist said things like, "Go and eat a fucking burger. You look fucking skinny." But then all the cyclists were saying, "Gareth, you look fucking great," you know? And it was I couldn't filter out the truth, because I was using my measurement of success based on the scales. And then shortly after that previous picture, I did an FTP test. A friend of mine called Darren Lee came to Sky to set up a new spin class at Sky and install some power bikes. We had some watt bikes and stuff. And he was like, "Gareth, I want you to do an FTP test." So I was like, "Okay, fine." You know, you saw I'm from a family of old school cyclists. So FTP tests kind of flew over my head. I was like, "No, I'm old school. I don't need FTP. I don't need power. I don't need heart rate. I don't need this, that. I'm old school." But I did an FTP test in 2020 in January, and I'd gone from riding it, being able to do 360 watts for 20 minutes to 240 watts. So I'd lost so much power, and that was really eye-opening. I was like, in this conquest to lose weight and be skinny and be complimented for being skinny and feel like I was becoming a better cyclist because I was becoming lighter, I realized at that point I was getting weaker, not lighter. So then I had to change my mindset, and I brought it back in 2020, really. My mindset flipped from dieting and exercising to training and fueling. And now in 2020, this is me, you know, nowadays, where I put on more muscle, and I'm trying to come back. I always think with I think I needed rehabilitation, not from like just in myself, really. I needed to reevaluate why I love cycling and what cycling's all about. And I believe the true art of rehabilitation is coming back better, not coming back where you were. So I'm always looking at 2017 and saying that's where my best form was. That's when I was the best cyclist. But actually now my ambition is to be better than I was in 2017, and to not see that as the benchmark. I want to I don't want to set a benchmark for myself. I want to see what I'm capable of doing beyond 2017. So now what 2020 has done for me is enabled me to really, I guess, focus on progression, like using the lockdown as an opportunity to focus on building a stronger body, becoming a stronger rider. I've been doing structured sessions on the turbo trainer. And what I used to do when I was getting skinny back in 2019 was I used to go out on empty stomach rides by myself and stare at my little computer and look at the calories burned, and I'd measure success on calories burned. Now I measure success on power and getting stronger. And I track my progress through using power and training with data. And now, you know, I've really gained a lot of fitness over 2020. I think my fitness raised about 250% from where I was in January of 2020 to where I am today. So yeah, sometimes something has to break before you can fix it. And I think January 2020, doing that FTP test with Darren and seeing that my FTP had dropped to 240 watts made me realize that this is broken. I am weak. I need to fix this. And that was a wake-up call.
Do you think that that's a bit of a, I mean, my take on it is a big issue in cycling: weight, eating disorders, whatever way, shape or form it comes in. Do you feel that all that kind of external pressure you were getting from people complimenting you was just forcing you to want to continually keep refining yourself and dropping the weight and becoming more and more? I mean, you're very much turning yourself, as you say, from Chris Hoy to Bradley Wiggins to winning the Tour de France, the physique. Yeah. That was very clear in the transformation. And how I think about it is like, you know, I have continual battles with it in my mind all the time. And I look at me and I go, I'm about 80 kilos at the moment. 80 kilos is quite big for a cyclist. Yeah. Me at my biggest, I was 120 kilos. So I'm still 40 kilos down on my biggest. But also then, my lightest I was about 73, 74, but power just fell through the roof for me as well.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing for me is that I think there's been a bit of a change in mindset for me this year. Has been 80 kilos is actually very healthy for a 31-year-old male. You know, a normal person, not a cyclist. The problem we have with cycling is that we're very much pigeonholed into seeing so much of a certain aesthetic in the pro peloton, because that is as a professional what works, what we know and what has been proven as worked. But you have to bear in mind that these guys are professionals and they have everything catered to them. It's when you start hearing about the kind of bone breakings that some of the guys have in the pro tour, like broken hips and stuff, which is for most normal people is the kind of thing that you'd have when you're like 80.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you can do a lot of damage to irreversible damage to your physicalities. You talk about bone density. Bone density is a real issue with endurance athletes, especially cyclists, because of the low impact nature. You kind of just suck up all the bone density out of your body. And the only way you can counter that is with good nutrition and strength training, putting your muscle under stress, putting your bone under stress through impact, through strength training is kind of the only way to combat it.
Yeah. And it comes down to what we sort of started talking about is about, how, I sort of reached out to you for some help and advice on the strength training side of it. And also I've had a DEXA scan and I know that I've got heavy bones. I just have heavy bones and I know it's from playing rugby. And there's nothing you can, if you've got heavy bones, you've got heavy bones. It's fine. That's just it. You can't do anything about that. That's to do with your bone density. And, and a lot of that, as I say, comes from playing rugby and mini fractures and breaks that heal themselves continually during rugby. But yeah, there's definitely, I find it a very tricky discussion point and one I'm keen to keep pushing on different podcast episodes because I feel like it needs to be raised more, especially with a lot of younger cyclists. I feel like, it's fantastic you're so open about discussing your changes and what's happened in you in the last 5-10 years. It's quite inspiring to see as well. But then also I'd like to hope that a lot of people can learn from that and understand that, that you really have to remember that we choose to cycle as well. And we're not paid to ride our bikes. We still need to do normal life, cook, cleaning, whatever it is. We still need to do that as part of life, pay the bills, whatever it is. And you need to make sure you're an all-round person, not just a pigeonholed person.
Yeah, healthy humans, build healthy humans. But, I've been at both ends. I've been overweight and I've been underweight. And the mind and the body, they are intrinsically linked. And if your body, I find, is often a reflection of your mind. So if you look at where I was in 2010 to 2013 when I worked at Sky News, my life wasn't balanced. It was work centric, it was high stress, and there was I wasn't prioritizing my well-being, physical or mental. It was just work, suffer. And that was reflective of my physique. And then I guess in 2019, the one thing that I lost in my life in 2019 was Team Sky. So in 2013, I started working with Team Sky, with British Cycling, that then led on to work with Team Wiggins, because in 2012, I helped with Sky News report on the success of the Olympic Games and of the Tour de France. And that kind of gave me the stepping stone to just go and work with the cycling sponsorship team at Team Sky. in 2019 we lost Team Sky. We gave a hand sling over to Ineos. And in 2019, I think I was dealing with this idea of I've lost my my stature in cycling. You know, I felt like I was part of something big. I felt like I was part of the professional cycling scene. And then I feel like that was stripped away from me. You know, I quickly realized that when I was filming with Team Sky, I wasn't interviewing, people like Chris Froome, Geraint Thomas. They weren't talking to Gareth Winter. They were talking to Sky Sports, Gareth Winter. And I had a title that Sky had given me. And as soon as they stripped that away from me, I recognized that I was just nobody. And I felt, that's how I felt. So when, that affected I think that affected over 2019, my attitude to cycling. I felt like I'd lost my stature in cycling, and I was trying to find some way of regaining that and regaining my position as, trying to climb that hierarchy of and trying to gain that respect that comes with kind of like being elevated in a community. And I thought that if I became, a skinnier, faster cyclist, then people would still see me as worthy, and I think that just dug my hole deeper. And I quickly realized that what makes me tick isn't the fact that I've worked with Team Sky and I've worked with my heroes in British cycling, etc. That's not what defines who I am. That my strengths are my commitment to cycling and my training constitution, which is unyielding. You've seen whether I was a big beefcake in 2013 or no cake in 2020, the one thing that's consistent there is my commitment to training. And that's what I can offer other people is if you need help, you need motivation, look to Gareth, because he's always doing it. He's leading by example. If you need advice, I'm always here. But the thing that I will always do for the cycling community is lead by example and commit to training and try to inspire people to do the same.
Yeah, it's really, I'm a huge fan of your drive and commitment and just general person. Always have been. I think it's very humbling hearing you speak about it as well, and it's lovely, the family side as well. It's just I think it's a really lovely thing. I don't know how else to word it. I just think it's lovely, and the honesty that you speak about, your own sort of challenges with weight and body image and all that is something that we can all strive to be way more open about that. And I completely agree with you. I think on my own life, like when I've been at my biggest and my smallest, and also to now, what kind of things have dictated that? And it is quite often stress related. When I was 120 kilos, I was working in architecture, similarly, fully committed to work, hardly ever having much other life, traveling around the world. On paper sounds incredible. Reality was incredibly hard and stressful. I was working for an Australian company at one point in London, working on projects in Canada, which is 2 hours downtime a day. 2 hours. You can't do it. It lasted a year and a half. And then I looked to when I really dropped a lot of weight, and it was stress related. I was not in a particularly good relationship. I was dealing with a lot of personal things, shall we say, around them, being in not a great relationship, which is something I won't go into much, but it was not a good time for me when I was at my lightest in a mental side. And I felt a lot of maybe external pressures. I'd started to do quite a lot of these challenges that I'd made up, and kind of they were getting attention, fundraising attention, whatever it was getting in the eye quite a lot. And I similarly had this perception of what a cyclist should look like. And even when I was at my lightest, the big problem I've always had is, because I think from having been a larger guy as well, I've always had a stomach. And you see it, and like I really tried to change my mentality to this, because some people genetically will always have a stomach. Yeah. It's just the way it is. At my lightest, I still had a stomach. My heaviest, I had a bigger stomach. And then the reason why I'm trying to change my mentality to it is, like, I look at the world tour riders, there's plenty of World Tour riders who have a stomach.
Yeah.
Half the peloton probably. And it's one of those things that I'm just very conscious of, and I always have been. And I think when I was trying to lose the weight and I was in, a tricky relationship and stuff, I was really conscious of that because there's a lot of external pressure on me from the relationship I was in, and like just, that idea of wanting to look more like a cyclist. And then similarly, when I realized when I was at my lightest, I couldn't produce the power numbers I was able to produce. And I by no means have made, I never had the world's highest FTP in the world, but you tell me to ride at, 300 watts for hours, and I would ride at it for hours. Like that was always my strength. It always has been my strength, is being able to ride at a number for a very long time. But never explosive, never particularly, that mindset. It was always long, steady, and hard. Sounds great. But I think, my mentality, the last couple of years for me, I kind of got out of that relationship in 2019. And that was tough. That was a very tough period. Went and cycled across Australia with Francis, and sort of that was a very good headspace to reassess stuff. And then came back from Australia and lost my job. So that was pretty hard to deal with. Had like a panicked few months of trying to figure out what the hell to do. Ended up working another job. Subsequently lost that job last summer through COVID. Was made redundant. But my mentality on it has been like try and focus on me, as in mentally me, because if mentally me is in a good place, physical me gets in a good place.
Yeah, I think they can inform each other.
Completely.
I don't think it matters which one you pick, whether you choose to focus on your mind or your body. If you focus on one, they kind of start the momentum to moving forward in progression.
Yeah, and it just does this little stepping slowly forward. And I feel like for me, I've been in the relationship I'm with now, I very intentionally don't really talk about it publicly on social media or anything. We made a very conscious decision to do that.
We're the same, me and Becky.
Yeah.
Sometimes, when you put so much of yourself out in the world, you need to have your own world that is special to you.
Completely agree. It's very important. And, every now and then maybe, but for me, it's like my relationship now with Fee, we've been together for, I don't even know now, a year and a half, something like that. And she doesn't even like social media. She fucking hates it, which I think is great. Works great on our relationship. But it means that it's meant that I personally have been in a much better headspace. So have been able to focus on myself a bit more. There are now an assortment of other external factors which are changing all of that right now. One that anyone who does listen to this podcast will very much know about, an impending move out of London. I don't know if I've told you.
Not personally, no.
Yeah. So the only reason it normally ends up coming up in the podcast is normally my computer screen is tilted the other way and there's a massive pile of boxes. But the big reason is to move for a better life. More space, more... fundamentally more space, to be perfectly honest with you, more space indoors and outdoors. The hope is the Peak District, and hopefully soon. And the thing for me is I know that when it's been this like strange limbo for a few months because of lawyers and paperwork and all that kind of bollocks, to be perfectly honest with you. But the hope is that this will start to, when this change happens, that's a very distinctive fresh start on a lot of things for me personally, physically and mentally. And it's meant the last couple of weeks have been very stressful, and I've kind of accepted that. I've accepted that it has been stressful, and it's human that you should accept that and allow things to be stressful, and whatever fits right. Like for me, when I'm stressed out, I normally train harder, but I normally eat chocolate harder as well. Roundabout, And basically what I'm trying to say is that I'd like to think there's a lot of people need to understand that we're always continually ebbing and flowing, changing and learning and understanding who we are as a person. There's always going to be high points and low points, and you have to ride. The expression is very much there. You have to ride the waves.
Absolutely.
And whether that's physically or mentally.
I find the one, the last few years, the last year especially, has given a lot of time for internal reflection and getting to know who you truly are. And one thing that always comes back to me is that I have this continual need for progression. If I'm not making progress in certain elements of my life, then I am not me, quite frankly. So if I'm making progress with my training, if I'm making progress on the bike, that sets the tone for the rest of my life. I can make progress at work. I can make progress in this area of my life, with this relationship, with that person. For me, it's just continual progression. Like, basically, my idea of heaven is just an endless mountain to climb. You just keep climbing the mountain. I never want to get to the top. I don't care what the success looks like. I don't care what the summit looks like. I just care about the climb. And that's me.
That's beautiful, beautiful expression. I'm conscious we've been talking for a long time, and I'm gonna chuck that one back at you, which was 5 tips.
5 tips. Okay, so mine would be: don't compare yourself to other people. In a cycling context, don't compare your numbers to professionals. Don't compare your body image to someone else's. Take inspiration from other people, but don't try to replicate other people. And draw what you need from others. Draw strength from other people and bring that into your world. Don't compare yourself to others, and just focus on being the best version of yourself. That's such a cliche these days, but we're quite introverted in that for example, you're a time trialist, and a time trialist always races themselves. And I think it's a really healthy mindset to take forward in any aspect of your life, is race yourself. Focus on yourself and not what everyone else is doing around you. That is, I think, something, that's my first piece of advice. Don't compare yourself to others. My second piece of advice would then be: draw inspiration from your heroes, but don't try to replicate them. I think you realize that so many of my heroes, whether they're musicians, whether they're cyclists, whether they're just cool people, everyone has flaws. And it's very easy if you idolize someone and you find and you discover their flaws, it can be a bit heartbreaking. So I think I've learned that, look to heroes for inspiration and take what you can from them, take what strengths you can from them, and bring that into your world, and filter out all the shit, filter out all the noise, and just focus on the positives. Another piece of advice, number 3, would have to be: treat other people the way you want to be treated yourself. Because if you treat someone like an asshole, you're not going to get treated with respect back, are you? So treat everyone as they deserve to be treated. Treat people like equals, and you will just build good relationships with such a broad range of people, and they will look after you if you look after them. It's that kind of care in the community thing, like whether it's your local bike shop, whether it's your local coffee shop. If you get to know people and discover what makes them tick and what makes them interesting, and find the value in everyone you interact with, you'll get that same treatment back, and people go the extra mile for you when you need that, and you go the extra mile for them, which is nice. That's community.
That's one that my dad always used to instill into me.
Good dad.
He's a good dad. Yeah, he knew that one. That was like, his word, but the way he always used to word it to me was: don't be a dick, and don't treat people, or don't dick on people, was what he used to say. That's
a much more succinct way of saying what I just said. Yes.
He's northern, so he's quite blunt.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. I like to kind of dance around the subject. Blunt is better always. Okay, advice number 4: just get to the fucking point. Be blunt. There you go. And then tip number 5, I don't know. Yeah, so listen more and speak less. Something I've discovered over the last 3 years maybe is that what I've learned actually is that as an athletic, white, middle-aged man, I can do whatever I want. I can walk into any room at Sky and pretend I'm the boss and everyone just listens to me. And I've discovered over the past few years that you should listen actively to everyone in the room, because that's how you change. That's how you find improvement and learn new things. And I think by becoming more open-minded and listening more and talking less, you become a more rounded individual. It helps everyone if you listen to more people. So listen more, speak less.
That's a good one. That I'm definitely on board with that one, especially, I feel like the cycling community is quite good for that. Actually, it's good. Definitely our sort of generation as well, and the generation's younger than us, but there's definitely, as you say very bluntly, as a middle-aged white male, you can get away with a lot
without even
realizing it. And starting to open that mindset up about just listening and hearing other people's stories and thoughts will really help. Yeah, definitely. Gareth, you're
number six.
Hey, go on.
Yeah, just fucking be interesting. Like, I love people that are really that could be anything. You could be the best stamp collector in the world or the best something in the world, but just don't settle for mediocrity. Like, if there's something you care about, just fucking go for it. That's it.
I love that. I used to work with a guy that used to collect spoons from airplanes.
Brilliant.
He was honestly he was my boss at one of the old companies I worked for. A lot of people didn't get on with him. Me and this guy had a really, really good working relationship and just general relationship. A very flamboyant guy. Is from he was American. I'm trying to think where in America he is from. California. He's from California, but he basically came and worked in London. Very flamboyant, incredibly interesting guy. And whenever we used to travel, he was always just like, "Make sure you grab me a spoon." And I was at first I was like, I don't get it. Why do you want a spoon? And then I learned that he collected them. And the other thing that he used to collect was salt and pepper pots from Virgin flights, specifically Virgin planes.
Virgin flights. Well, that's a niche. I like that.
So the reason what I've got, they're in store, they're all packaged up in storage. So on Virgin Air, I've got some on Virgin Airlines. They are, depending on what class you go in, if it's first class or business class, they are silver or black little planes. And he'd always want them. They had messages on, they had feet on them, to little feet, and there was a message on the foot of each one, and the feet messages are always different. That's why I collected them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I've got a salt and pepper one somewhere in storage right now. I don't know where. But anyway, Gareth, honestly, thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate it. It's lovely to talk with you always.
I have all the time in the world for you, Chris, so not a problem.
And you. I realise I've taken you away from a few hours of your afternoon.
Yeah, I'll catch up with work now, but yeah. yeah. Ignore these 500 emails. Apple A, delete. There we go. Problem solved.
That's what I would do. Thank you so much. Honestly, thank you. Really, really appreciate it.